So, Mark, it's officially the beginning of summer, I guess, because Plaza's beautiful downtown fireworks start this weekend.
Always a cool experience downtown. I'm glad that they're doing it again, something unique. And, Plaza always puts up all the money for everybody else. Everybody needs to chip in, right?
Yeah, all the cheapskates need to do it. It's good to see we're doing this again. Make sure to head downtown every Friday, 9:15 p.m. and enjoy them.
Sorry for all the dogs in the area.
So we talk about Resorts World a lot on this show, but not necessarily Genting rewards or their casino as much as we probably should. So many of the news articles are about bad things and struggles, but maybe they are struggling to get gamblers. But now they're running a 10x multiplier in May, which is kind of good. 27th through the 29th of May, you can earn 10x tier credits, which will allow you to kind of juice up your earnings. I was looking at this. You earn 3 Genting points for every dollar coin in on real slot machines, 5 Genting points for every dollar spent towards retail, spa, and stuff like that. So, this could really get you to elite status pretty quickly without a ton of gambling or spend.
Yeah, if you're into the program or you really like the hotel and property, it could be worth going after. I don't know. I've never found it really rewarding. I've never dove too deep into it, but stayed there a few times. Never gotten any good offers or anything afterwards. No type of mailers. It just seems like you have to be really high-end gambler, maybe. I don't know, but I've never heard anybody say it's a great rewards program either, or talk about it like we do with the Palms and other places. So maybe even at 10 times it's not worth it.
They don't really have any crazy benefits that really stood out to me unless you get to their highest tiers. I guess anecdotally, the comp situation would be what you're interested in. Do you get better comps at the higher tiers? I don't really know. So maybe people should share it with us. I don't know anybody who's an elite at Resorts World. So that's really where we're at here. But 10x tier points, it's a good deal. And chime in, let us know. Is this worth it for people? Are people getting good offers? Are Resorts World's players happy?
All 7 of you out there, please let us know.
So here's a story that involves Caesars, but it's outside of Nevada, and it involves sports bets. And I thought this was interesting to cover because, first off, this guy in this story who lost his money, very honest about what he's doing. He's a professional sports bettor, younger guy, but basically, in order to get around limits, he is putting on disguises, going into kiosks, making the same bet over and over again, doing all kinds of stuff like that. And he got caught, and Caesars decided not to pay him in 2 different states, Iowa and Indiana. Caesars won the case in Indiana. They're most likely to win it elsewhere. Basically, they're saying he's circumventing laws, anti-money laundering too, because once you start structuring and setting up your bets in split amounts and stuff like that, that can be a problem. I went back and forth on this, but the fact that he's putting on disguises and really going in that way, that seemed to really cross the line. Caesars is offering him his money back for both the bets that he won and lost, although they didn't void out the bets until he won these really big ones.
Yeah, and he said he was at one betting machine doing the kiosk bets for like 4 hours straight. So it's not like nobody noticed him, that you would think that they would step in at that point. But we see the casinos are more reactive than proactive. If you are doing this to not get them eyes on your account, essentially, or to have them look at your bets, then you definitely know that it's probably something they don't want, or they don't want this level of play on parlays. He said he didn't actually go to the sports book because he's trying to avoid them saying, we don't want that action or whatever. If it's possible to make the bet, you would think they should take it, but they don't want to take it at those kinds of levels. I'd rather know that up front than have to deal with all this, spend all the time going through it and then have it not work, and maybe they back you down and let you make smaller bets. I don't know. I'd rather win some than none, but maybe that's just not the way it works. They're hoping to slide under the radar and get away with this. But yeah, that's a ton of bets, and we've seen places in Vegas get busted for anti-money laundering stuff and not doing what their part. So this definitely looks like it, structuring all those things when you make $10, $200 bets instead of one big bet for $2,000. I can see why they do it.
The truth is, if you're a good sports gambler and they don't want you to gamble tons of money, that's why you're doing it, right? A lot of these guys have like whole teams of people making bets on their behalf. And in this case, he's wearing disguises. And the whole thing is they don't want you betting tons of money. They want to limit your action, especially if you're a good bettor. I don't know what the answer is here. Do you force them to identify themselves? Like you have to have an account linked to a bet made at a kiosk as opposed to one made in person? Maybe you do that. I'll put a link in the description. There's this news story that has different experts from Vegas and elsewhere, and they all disagree on what should be done here, which is hilarious.
Yeah, it's murky water, and that's what we've seen with a lot of these, normally when we talk about these things, it's, the odds were out of whack on a online app and stuff. And we see it less and less with odds being out of whack at the actual sports book, because you're usually interacting with a human. I don't know how that gets lost in translation to the app. You think they would be the same. But yeah, if you're going to make these bets, maybe it's just best to do it in person to see. We've seen people do TikTok videos and everything where they get backed off or told they can't take the action, but now he's been trespassed at most of these casinos. So even if he makes a bet now, it's not going to work.
So moving back to Vegas, there was this crazy story regarding Piero's, and that's that famous Italian restaurant kind of across from the convention center. It was in the movie Casino. So a very famous place you've probably all seen. And just an interesting story. Started by the father many, many years ago, and then the son was running the restaurant for a long time. Allegedly, he took out a loan without the father's permission, $1.5 million against the restaurant. The father fired him, and then there was this threat that went on, causing police staff to get involved, and it just got crazy. So yeah, it's always interesting when you hear these family stories behind these Vegas institutions. Bad story here, but hopefully this place survives. I mean, with this loan, and it seems like maybe the future is in jeopardy.
That's why they say don't ever get into business with family, Sean.
Yeah, we talked about the Lotus of Siam. Remember the accusations that the parents let the daughter open up the one in Red Rock, and then she stole recipes and was putting menu items, and they were suing each other. So this isn't the first kind, but what a crazy story, though, and the threat and all of that. Very sad to hear all that. And I do hope that this institution gets to stay around. Maybe somebody will buy it, or maybe the father can make this work. So moving over to Harrah's, and Chris Holmes, 710 Suited, was over there. I got a press release this week that Chicken Guy opened, and he was able to film it. So it's cool that Chicken Guy has expanded. So hopefully that guy who hates Guy Fieri can go and film another social media video railing against it. But yeah, if you want your Chicken Guy, you can get it at another location inside the Fulton Street Food Hall.
You just wanted a reason to put that video back up on the screen.
And some good news, too, out of the same place. Also, Chris Holmes reporting this, that Pinup Pizza's back to $20 combo. We don't know if this is just going to fluctuate. We went from, like, what was it, 20 to 27 to removing the sign altogether to back to 20. Still 80 for the pizza, though.
Yeah, $80. What a deal. Good times.
Before we get screamed at, it is a huge pizza for $80, Mark. So there you go.
So it's like two pizzas, $40 pizza. Not as terrible.
A lot of Caesars stories today, and another lawsuit involving Caesars that they lost. And this involves a company called Tipping Point, which was apparently developing slot machine software for sidebets alongside Caesars Entertainment. They had a partnership. And according to the company, Caesars prohibited them from eventually being able to bring this to the market. The company eventually went bankrupt, and they had lost a case against Caesars, appealed, and then eventually won this case where they're going to get $20 million. The story is what it is. The thought of side bets on slot machines, do we really need that? I mean, this is a bad idea.
I don't even know, how would that work in practice? What are you side betting on?
I don't know. I mean, I guess you could incorporate different things within the games, right? To get a certain symbol, or the house edge on slot machines is already good enough compared to everything else. Do we really need it to get better?
But why would Caesars block this? That's what kind of blows my mind. Because like you said, side bets on table games are usually the worst bet on the table. And then slots are always big house advantage, or at least a lot of them are. And then if you're adding a side bet, you would assume that that's like massive house advantage. You think they would be all for this and gung-ho to get it out on the market.
I haven't read the lawsuit, but according to the Review Journal article, Caesars stopped the market from ever being able to be made, and the company alleged that they tainted their intellectual property. So maybe something going on behind the scenes, a disagreement with how it all worked. But maybe this just wasn't a good idea since nobody else has brought it. I mean, Tipping Point's arguing that this would have been a giant market for the casino industry that never happened because of Caesars. But I would argue if this is as lucrative as it sounds for the casinos, then it would happen. I wonder what the regulation is for this too, because you still got to get this regulated and approved. And I mean, I don't know.
I mean, if it was such a great deal, it would seem like that's something they would want. So I don't know. It's kind of counterintuitive on that part. Maybe we'll see it one day somewhere. I don't know.
As a reminder, we have our Patreon. $5 a month gets you access to our weekly after show. Lots of fun. Great discussion about Vegas, behind the channel, all of that good stuff. Patreon.com/MTM Vegas for all the information. And thanks to everybody who supports us over there. First, they got their table game, and now they're getting a street. At least there's a proposal for Penn and Teller to get their own street. And I fully support this. It's Viking Road, and this is that little section of Viking Road that basically runs into the Rio. So it only is essentially inside Rio's parking lot from Valley View. And so I think it would be a great move to solidify these guys as icons of Vegas.
Now, did I read this right? Are they are requesting it?
Friends of theirs, backers of theirs. So,
Okay.
it's like friends of Harry Reid wanted his airport, things like that.
Yeah, no, I think it makes a lot of sense and something that you would have thought Rio would have done, a while ago or tried to. So I think it'd be cool. There's plenty of other roads named after people in Vegas, and these two have been the mainstay there for a very long time. So well deserved, and I'm glad it wasn't them begging for it themselves.
Yeah, so I mean, if you think about all of the people, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin, Joey Bishop, Elvis Presley, Mel Torme, Tony Bennett, Liberace, Roy Horn of Siegfried and Roy, Wayne Newton, and Debbie Reynolds. So that is, according to the Review Journal, all of the sort of performers that have their own streets here. They certainly,
Celine
I think,
needs
belong
one.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. She needs friends. Her friends aren't asking.
Let's be her friends.
So a quick update on Cadence Crossing. That's the new casino we talked about. They broke ground a few weeks ago. I showed you guys footage of it. And just to say that Boyd in their earnings call had said, we're moving forward with this. Tariffs aside, we're good. Financially, this is going to happen. So just wanted to update people on that this new casino, probably the next new casino to open in Vegas, is going forward and it won't be stopped. It's not a huge project, so, the scale works well for them.
Yeah, it's good news, and it means that they at least see a solid future and aren't too worried about it and going to power through, and whatever the cost is, it should work out. So I'm happy to hear it.
So I came across this story this week, and I sort of missed this. I guess a couple months ago, they announced that the big mirror array over in Ivanpah. That's, if anybody's driven, and you've seen this too, Mark, when you're driving to California, you see all those giant mirrors off the side of the highway, and there's 3 different areas of these. And basically what they do is they reflect light to turn a turbine, and then the turbine generates electricity. It's a form of solar power, but it's far less efficient than solar panels and more expensive to operate. And so PG&E, the company that was sort of behind it, buying the power, pulled out of the agreement like 10 years early. And 2 of the 3 stations are going to close. Most likely the whole thing will eventually close. A big waste of time and space, but I guess solar panels, the modern solar farms like we have going out towards Boulder City and stuff, they generate electricity at half the price compared to this. So maybe these mirrors will go away. But the number one interesting fact I saw about this kills so much wildlife. It kills birds. They get zapped by the rays. On some estimates, 1 bird every 2 minutes.
Yeah, and they start on fire in the air. How crazy is that? Like, remember burning ants as a child?
Yeah, they call them streamers, right? Because they stream across the site. You have this smoke streaming across the site.
Did you do that,
crazy.
or are you going to leave me hanging out here? Did you?
I did not do that. I did not put salt on snails. I did have friends who did that, but no, it wasn't my thing.
Oh, I used to. Yeah, did you ever light it like a leaf on fire though? Nothing with a magnifying glass?
I'm sure I lit a leaf on fire. Yeah, I'm sure.
There you go. Okay. No, but that is crazy that this was even a thing. And I mean, it wasn't that long ago. Solar panels were around in 2014. Maybe they weren't as efficient, but I'm kind of surprised they wouldn't have gone with it back then.
Yeah, I never understood why they went with this version of the technology, and you'd have to dig in to a lot of it. But I'm happy to see this go. I mean, I wonder if it'll get replaced by solar panels, or this is a huge amount of land, but it was just always this ugly eyesore. And if it's so bad for the wildlife, it's not generating the electricity at the right price, and it just doesn't make sense on any level. So it seems like a failed project and one that will be going away. So you shared this Showgirl Mania, and we talked about the quote unquote Showgirl scam and how you should deal with showgirls on the strip. If they approach you, you take a picture, what you should pay them, what you owe them, what you don't owe them, and many of them trying to get like $100 a person craziness. I guess many people out there don't realize that they work for a company. And I think there's 2 companies, but people who know more can chime in. But yeah, they all work for a centralized company that has the costumes and they go to work. And one of the showgirls shared this video kind of showing her day, the money she made. Although their outfits from this company seem a little toned down compared to the ones with the bigger feathers, which I think is a separate entity.
Yeah, and it was surprising that they all go out together at the same time. Usually you see like a pair of 2 together, so you think that they're just friends, and maybe they put some time into making this outfit or whatever, and doing their own thing. And then you see this, that they go to the studio, get ready together, pick out what, off the rack, and maybe they're just paying a rental fee for the costumes and stuff like that, and that's all it is. But I think it's more like the company probably takes a cut along those lines. But it just feels even more shady now that you know that, like people would maybe stick up for him saying, hey, they put an effort into this, doing this, and, give them a little bit of back for their craft. And it's like, no, it's all just a scam.
I've heard, and I do not know this, but I have heard that it would be impossible to start up your own showgirl thing. Like if you were just a person, two people, you got your nice costumes. I've heard that these companies and these showgirls will not like you moving in on their territory. So I don't know, but yeah, it's
mafia.
It's
Showgirl
the mafia,
mafia.
right? Yeah, all over again. It's Vegas. This is the way it should be.
Okay.
Hey, life was better in Vegas under the mafia. That's what everybody says, the mob days. So here you go.
Not the showgirl mafia. They weren't running anything.
So let's close with this. Midtown. We talk about the arts district all of the time, and then you have regular downtown Las Vegas, Fremont. Well, a company's trying to rebrand the area north of Charleston, just north of the arts district, as Midtown. And this is where their English hotel already is. The same company that built that is sort of expanding out with 6 new buildings, a mix of condos, hotels, other residences and shops and stuff like that. And they're calling it Midtown Las Vegas. And so, yeah, it's coming. Like I said, the English hotel is already there. So they're just kind of expanding out from there, a $300 million project.
It's like Vegas is becoming New York City. You got to name every little neighborhood and subsect and intersection a certain type of town. But we've only heard good things about the English Hotel, and we've had friends that stayed there and enjoyed it. And I've been wanting to check it out. I haven't made it there, but I think the location is cool. You can get to Arts District very easy, and you're off the strip a bit, Marriott property. So I still want to check it out, and I'm glad that they're expanding. It sounds interesting. And hey, the more you can connect those two neighborhoods, connect it to Fremont to Arts District and fill in that whole space, I think the better.
So I'm going to tell you why I don't like this, because I looked at all the renderings that they put out, and not a single one of those things looks like Las Vegas. None of them. There's nothing in it that makes you think you're in Las Vegas. And I don't mean that has to be special and there has to be Vegas stuff. It just is so generic. The buildings are so generic, like you see in every other city. Even the English Hotel is very generic. And so they're just building one of these generic sort of campus sort of things in the middle of the city with, I don't know. That's my problem with it. I do think it's great to add all of that.
You just wish it was strip malls, and then you would be happy.
Well, if they put a parking garage and they put some neon on the top of it, I would be very happy. Of course, strip malls got to have all the parking out front.
The parking that's not enough for people, and they fight over spots. Yes, that would be better.
Hey, in most cases here, we got plenty of parking. We don't have to do that. Yeah, I mean, they're moving away from the strip mall project, but I have talked about that. The autonomous hotel we talked about on the show. I drive by that once a week or so. Just drove by it the other day. I'll go get video when it's probably a couple weeks from being open now. They're doing the final landscaping and all of that. I think the ones downtown are fine. This is cool. I do like the idea of this Midtown. I just wish it was a little bit more unique in the architecture.
Yeah, especially when I get your point when it's right next to Arts District and how funky and fun that is. And we did talk about the parking structure and how it blended in well there, the design of it and the colors and scheme and everything. So I get your point, but that's kind of the maturation of a city. I think there's going to be some stuff that isn't Vegas, and as long as it adds value, it's nice, I'm okay with it.
I mean, 10, 15 years ago, that entire area was abandoned furniture stores, and it was just had seen so many better days. It really is amazing to see how it's come back. And so I'm not complaining about this, other than I would have liked something a little more unique there, but new housing, really cool area of town to live in too. Probably not for me at this point in my life, but I could see it being one of the neater areas to live, and it's nice that it's getting better. So, and hotels there too. It's cool that with the English Hotel, and now they're building more hotel rooms, that you'll be able to stay in that area as opposed to having to stay at Fremont or elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm excited for when they finally get to Naked City on this list of places to rehab. Let's make it a nightclub area, and then it'll be perfect. It'll make sense.
Let's get Aztec Inn redeveloped into one of these fancy things. Let's put it on the list. But let us know what you guys think about anything we talked about on the show. This Midtown project, is that exciting? 10X with Resorts World, everything else we discussed on this show. We do 2 shows a week, Tuesdays and Fridays, and we'll be back in a couple days with another show. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
Have a good weekend, everybody.